Hi guys, Max here, and this is your daily market update for yesterday, the 28th of February. Now, it was pretty hectic, to be honest. A Monday, so the first day open for markets after the weekend when the war in Ukraine really escalated, and we saw some crazy volatility. In this video, we're just going to talk about the financial side of what happened yesterday. We're not going to look at the war itself right now, but I will keep regular updates regarding the war coming out, so don't worry. So what actually happened? Well, Western markets didn't perform too well, but they didn't collapse either. By and large, they saw small declines, but nothing too major. The S&P 500 saw some volatility and was down by as much as 1.5% at some points during the day, but it closed after a small rally and only lost 0.2%. The Nasdaq also saw crazy volatility, and it was down by 1% at open, but then it shot up and then down again and ended up closing up 0.4% in the green. European markets had some trouble as well, with the FTSE 100 dropping 0.3%, the Stock 600 dropping 0.3% as well. Basically, most of the indexes did fine, and most companies did alright as well, but some companies in particular took major hits, as you might expect. BP, the major oil and gas producer from the UK, has had some trouble with the sanctions, and they're probably going to be left holding a bag for a stake in a Russian gas company worth about $25 billion that they're not allowed to own. They also can't really sell it to anyone else, so they might just have to book an entire 100% $25 billion loss on that investment, and they'll also miss out on 3% of their revenue every year into the future as well. Now that's obviously not good news, so the share price fell about 7% on that news. Now some other companies took major hits as well. Sberbank, a major Russian bank that is going to get crushed by the sanctions, actually trades in part on the London Stock Exchange, and that exchange was open, so markets were free to buy and sell, and of course they chose to sell. Before the weekend, the shares were trading at about $15 each. Today, they're sitting at less than $1, which is a major 94% drop over just a few days. That is an absolutely insane collapse in price, but it's not too surprising considering the limitations put on their business. The company is screwed, to be honest. What else have we seen though? Some defense manufacturers seeing some price rises. Lockheed, for example, up about 10% over the last week, and Raytheon up about 14% from a week ago at its bottom. This does make sense in general. Tensions are high, war is raging, and the West has agreed to send loads of munitions to Ukraine, which means more weapons are going to be bought by these governments, more sales for these companies, and this does make sense. It shouldn't be too surprising, but I do wonder if the size of the price rises is maybe a little bit premature. 14% for Raytheon and 10% for Lockheed gains on what seems to be the general idea that more Javelin missiles will be bought. That might just be a little bit of an overreaction, to be honest, but also some pricing in of further conflict and further escalation, so who really knows at this point. Now, bonds are seeing major inflows all over the place as investors seek safe havens from all of this chaos and volatility. The US 10-year has now declined all the way back down to a 1.8% yield. We were almost at 2% just a few weeks ago, let's remember, and yesterday alone the British and German 10-year bond yields declined 7 and 8 basis points each. The US dollar as well has just been doing well on the idea that it's just a little bit safer and more secure than most other currencies. Since the invasion of Ukraine, it's pretty much only gone up against other major currencies. The Russian ruble, on the other hand, has been getting absolutely destroyed. Numbers vary per institution, per company that actually exchanges currency, but if you actually want to convert rubles to dollars, you're probably going to be about 25% poorer than if you'd done it a week ago. Now, there is loads of concern about higher inflation as well all around the world, and for good reason. Russia and Ukraine are major wheat and grain exporters, so food is going to be limited and be far more expensive in the near future. Oil and gas sanctions against Russia are coming in as well, so those are both going to get more expensive as well. Right now, Brent crude is sitting at about $102 a barrel, a crazy high number that we haven't seen in years, and WTI crude oil is sitting at $98 a barrel, nearing that $100 mark. Gold has continued to stay high as well, not as high as it spiked to during the early hours of the initial invasion, but right now gold is worth about $1,915 an ounce, far more than it was a month or so ago when it was dipping back down into $1,700 territory. Now, crypto has been on a tear recently, seeing a mini bull run over recent days as the war shakes markets. Bitcoin itself is sitting at about $44,000 right now. It was down around $34,000 not too long ago, so big gains there. Ethereum as well is doing well, sitting at $2,900. Altcoins have seen some major gains, not all of them of course, but Luna, for example, is up 20% today alone. Now, I'm not 100% sure about why the positive gains are being seen across the board, and no one is. It's crypto, it's that market, and anyone claiming that they know for sure what is happening is lying, but this is probably to do with Russian sanctions. Basically, the world is cutting Russia off from its banking system, and Russia is trying to figure out how to pay people for resources and things like that in the future, and it seems like they might choose Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency to do that. Loads of people are claiming that Russia is about to use the Ripple network to make international payments and that XRP is about to explode because of it. Who knows, maybe there is some truth to that, but let's be perfectly honest, it's very unlikely. There are more claims that Russia might just use Bitcoin for major transactions, particularly with the Chinese or the Indian governments, and this has a bit more potential legitimacy to it. But again, it's still hearsay, and it might actually happen right now. Who really knows? No one. Crypto markets seem to just be pumping on the idea of decentralization in general here, on the idea that crypto might be used by Russia to get around sanctions, and that might cause prices to rise. There is no real concrete news or anything on this front, I'm afraid, but that never stopped crypto markets from going crazy before, and we shouldn't expect it to stop anything from going crazy this time either. Now, Russian markets right now are closed. They were closed yesterday, all as an attempt by Russian authorities to stop their markets from tanking and crashing, and their economy going up in flames. They are making it illegal for foreign entities, banks, institutions, investors, basically anything or anyone, from actually selling Russian assets. That means that if you own shares in a Russian bank, well, those shares are kind of worth nothing now. Not exactly nothing, but close to it. If they pay you a dividend, well, it will never reach you and it would be illegal for you to get it. If you want to sell the shares to someone else, well, again, that's illegal for you to sell them. You're not allowed to sell your shares and no one else is even allowed to buy them. So what value do they have to you? Well, not much at all. The only value they really have right now is based on the idea that things might change in the future. Maybe these sanctions will be dropped, maybe the shares will pay out their dividend to you, and maybe you can sell them in the future. That's if they aren't just seized by the Russian state, which, let's be clear, that is a possibility as well. Now, loads of Western companies are going to see major losses for this. Lots of oil companies like Shell and BP have joint projects with Russian gas companies, and they're having to just abandon them and walk away because of everything going on. The company that created Nord Stream 2, the undersea pipeline between Russia and Germany that was supposed to supply Germany with loads of natural gas for decades into the future, well, that company has filed for bankruptcy because the project has basically been killed and the pipeline isn't going to go live. Lots of individual companies are joining the fray against Russia as well and targeting them for financing. YouTube is blocking Russian state media, Twitter is banning new Russian accounts from being created, MasterCard and Visa are blocking transactions into and out of Russian banks. Google Pay and Apple Pay no longer seem to be working for Russian citizens on the subways in Moscow. These are each not major on their own, but in aggregate, together, everything like this will have absolutely major consequences for the Russian economy. It will send the country up in flames and send them into a major, ridiculous recession, the likes of which we've probably never seen. Now that is it for the day. If you enjoyed this video, then leave a like and a comment to bless the YouTube algorithm. If you want more content like this, then check out our Patreon and join our community of investors. You get access to our Discord, loads of exclusive content like insight into my portfolio and buy and sell alerts for all my own investments. There's a link in the description to masterworks.io, a site that allows you to buy fractional shares of art from world famous artists like Banksy, which can be a great way to diversify your portfolio with assets which don't necessarily correlate with traditional financial markets. It's completely free to sign up, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to hand over any card information, so if that sounds interesting, then make sure to check it out. There's also a link in the description to BlockFi, which will give you up to $250 in free Bitcoin when you use it. You can also get 9% interest on stablecoins like USDC, which is a far higher rate than you'll get from any savings account these days. Just make sure not to use Tether. Thank you all for the support, thanks for watching, stay stoic, until next time.